Hi everyone, my name is Isis Lee, and today I want to talk a little bit about genetics and how it relates to criminal behavior. I know some of us might wonder, people born with certain traits, does that make them more likely to commit certain crimes, right? So a little bit of what I'll talk about today is pretty much what that means, the relationship between genetics and crime, and criminal behavior, and how criminologists might study why people commit crimes. So, a while back, we had criminologists like Cesar Lombroso that believed that individuals were born criminals, that they somehow had like physical traits or certain genetics that if you automatically had this certain type of trait or type of genetic, that automatically you were labeled, you're a criminal or you're going to commit a crime at some point, right? But of course, those that kind of theory or thought process has been debunked. Our criminologists today focus more on behavior instead of just the genetics or traits that make up a person and why they might commit a crime or why they might be more susceptible to criminal behavior. So we have what we call the Human Genome Project. So that was pretty much something, I believe it was started in 1990. They finished it in 2003. And it pretty much was a project of studies and research to where they were able to come up with the human genome, like the code that pretty much makes up our DNA as humans, right? So it helped researchers understand genes that influence certain behavior. And some of those genes, depending on the environment, the genes that we have, and depending on the environment that you're around, depending on like how your environment changes, that can alter the genes that are in your DNA, which could make someone more susceptible to crime or to commit crimes. So researchers studied what they call the MAOA gene. I might say this wrong, but I believe it's pronounced the monoamine oxidase A. So MAOA is short for that, which that gene is heavily involved in making sure that the signals that get transmitted between our brain, and I believe it helps break down the serotonin. That gene is one of the main factors that helps with that. And I believe that what causes maybe a lot of criminal behavior in certain people is that gene, because of that lack of serotonin, if it has an issue breaking down and producing that serotonin, if there's a lack there or a alter in that gene that could cause a problem with the signals that get transmitted between the brain, it could make someone more aggressive, which could make them more susceptible to commit a certain crime or commit crimes. So of course, it's what criminologists have learned today is it's not just genetics that cause someone to commit crimes. More importantly, it's the environmental factors that really alter the genes and really can alter someone's brain composition, which could cause them to commit crimes. So it could be everything to trauma as a child. It could be abuse. It could be, the environment that you might have grown up in. Even as an adult, it could be stress. Anything of those sorts could alter the brain composition, the genes in the brain that could make someone more susceptible to commit a crime. And so now criminologists, they just focus not just on the genetics, but they focus more on the environmental factors that affect the genetics, what could cause someone to commit those crimes. And so overall, I think personally, we shouldn't focus so much on genetics when it comes to why people might commit criminal behavior. I mean, things like that could lead to labeling. It can lead to discrimination if we simply just focus on, okay, if a person has this certain type of genetic makeup, or a person is born with these certain genes, then okay, oh, yep, that person's going to commit a crime. And that's not necessarily the fact. Someone could be born with the genetic makeup to where research might show, okay, if this person is born with this genetic makeup, studies and research might show that they usually would commit crimes, or would be more prone to commit crimes. But even if a person was born with that genetic makeup, if their environment is a positive environment, they have positive family role models, they're going to great schools, they're in a nice neighborhood, whatever, those positive factors, that could alter that gene that they might have been born with, that would, what we would say would probably cause them to commit crimes. Those positive factors in their life could alter that gene to where they grow up and never commit a crime. So just because, I think we have to assume at the end of the day, just because someone is born with a certain gene or a certain genetic makeup does not mean that they will commit a crime. And we have to more so focus on the environmental factors along with the genetic makeup to really understand why someone has committed a crime, or why they might be more prone to commit crimes. And that's all I have today. I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you. Bye.